Hello, everybody. Welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I'm Willie, and with me is my fabulous co-host, Mr. Tim Long.
Yes, that is me.
Tim, I was holding back a burp the entire time I was doing that intro. I let it out while you were saying, yes, that's me.
I do those. I haven't done one in a while, the Otter Roll, and I always have like Coke Zero or some sort of pop next to me.
No.
And you, if anybody wants to, if any freak out there wants to that listens to this wants to go back and count the times I've burped on air and refuse to edit it out because I don't want to edit anything.
Amazing.
Yeah, go for it. Because
It's just some added flavor, you know?
yeah, literally.
Literally.
Yes.
Have you seen the Sprite challenge everybody's doing?
No. What is
You have
this?
to chug a 20-ounce of Sprite without burping. It's impossible.
Too much information here. One time, I was in college.
Yeah.
This will
Okay.
make sense.
Let's,
you
yeah.
know.
You gotta lead with that.
I don't think I can't remember any time I've projectile vomited in my life except for this time.
Okay.
So I just spoiled the story for everybody here. But I want everybody to know what's coming is I had leftover tuna helper. I had been out the night before. I had leftover tuna helper, and I was just drinking flat Sprite out of the 2 liter.
Oh.
That's all I had, man. And then I proceeded to just kind of like Team America style.
I think anybody would. After some tuna helper and some flat Sprites.
So let's see how many people tuned out for this episode. Start skipping ahead now, but
Since we're talking about barf, let's just get out of the way.
Yeah, go for it.
I was in early college years there. I wasn't old enough to drink, but I was drinking. And ate a bunch of pizza rolls.
Yeah.
And got sick. And I kid you not, and I swear to this day, I promise you this is the truth. In the midst of the pizza rolls exiting my body through my mouth, a full pizza roll came out. So somehow I swallowed an entire pizza roll
without knowing, kind of like you swallowed a whole pizza roll like a bug.
Yes.
Like you were on the highway on a motorcycle and a pizza roll flew into your mouth.
It was a stealth pizza roll, and it made its way right there. Yeah, the whole pizza roll came out.
Totino's?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Totino's or Tony's. So.
Yeah, I don't play around with anything but Totino's when I rock pizza rolls. Do you dip your pizza rolls in anything when you have pizza rolls?
No. Are you a ranch guy?
No, actually.
Okay.
I am a ranch guy.
Okay.
I dip my pizza in ranch and stuff. But pizza rolls must be dipped in sour cream.
Okay.
Try it once if you like sour cream.
I do like sour cream. I like it more than ranch. I'm not a ranch
Try
guy.
it once.
Okay.
I introduced my wife to the pizza rolls and sour cream thing.
Okay.
And it's just so good because it cools it's a beautiful mix.
I haven't had pizza rolls in a while.
It's been a long time for me.
But I have not been eating healthy lately, so I may as well.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, go for it.
It's the holidays now. Everybody's will go out.
Get you a bag, buddy.
Yeah.
Do it.
Get a bag of pizza rolls and some sour cream and just sit home.
Just dip it right in the bowl, sour cream, the container. So when you open it next time, when you open it next time, it's gross and it's got like pizza rolls,
just orange streaks
yes.
in it.
Anyway, enough of that. Well, hey, we do not have any feedback this time around, but if you would like to leave us some feedback, you can do that. You can email us horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. You can Twitter us at HMYearbook for a while at least. Not sure how much longer that'll be active.
Yeah.
And then we're on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, find us there. Send us ideas.
We're not jumping on any of these other things that people are jumping on now because they're getting off of Twitter. I see everybody's jumping on Hive now.
I'm not doing any of that.
We're not going anywhere. You could get at us. You email us, write us a letter if you want. Yeah, if Twitter goes away.
Yeah, I'm barely on Twitter. I'm barely on Instagram. I'm on Facebook more than I care to admit. Once those things die, I'm not getting social media to replace them.
No.
So.
No, we've got the Discord. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like Discord.
Scope us out on Discord.
Yes.
Check out our Patreon and become part of the conversation there. There's lots of fun stuff going on all the time on that Discord. Speaking of our compatriots in the Midwest Podcast Network, what are the old game nerds up to?
The game nerds have first impression of God of War Ragnarok. First impression of that, but more importantly, for all of our listeners here that are listening, they are going to be talking about Black Friday deals.
Yeah,
we've talked about this. It's out now.
Yes.
I think it just dropped today or yesterday. I don't know.
Excellent.
But they're talking about Black Friday deals. So that's always good when you're playing video games. I've recently been playing a video game I'm going to talk about real quick. The Game Nerds, I don't believe, have covered it yet. But if they want me to be on there, please let me know. because I am 2 levels into Sonic Frontiers, which is like the new open world Sonic game. And
Nice.
It's kind of fun. It's fun. I haven't played a Sonic game. I played the one that was kind of like the old school one. Was it Sonic Mania?
Yeah. I think I
and that
played
was fun.
Yeah.
But like the 3D ones, I may have played like Sonic Colors or something. I don't remember.
I remember playing like Sonic Adventure when it came out on
Okay.
Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Do you remember the first Sonic 3D for Sega?
I do. I have it.
You had the little birds and stuff chasing you around. Yep. I played that one. But
Yeah,
those
it's a hard game to play because
it's weird.
it's like kind of 3D.
Yeah, they were playing around with it. 'Cause that was Mario 64, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because that was on
I think that was on Genesis.
Genesis, wasn't it?
Genesis, and probably whatever the one that came out around the same time Genesis did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I have been playing that, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Honestly,
That's good.
It's pretty. I mean, it's kind of janky at times, and like it, you can tell the ambition is greater than the execution in points. But
Okay.
I like how I don't know. I like that they're doing something with Sonic. I mean,
No,
plenty of
it's good.
Plenty of Sonic lore too, which is very important for
So much lore.
Sonic has a lot of lore.
Yeah. A lot of characters.
A lot of characters, a lot of like. There's like comics, of course. I used to read the Archie ones. But,
I always liked Espio, the chameleon. He was cool.
there's this guy, Big the Cat.
Big the
is
Cat, yeah.
he's my guy.
He's
my
sweet.
guy.
He just kind of chills.
And of course, Knuckles. You meet Knuckles in this game. Spoiler. It's pretty early though, so I'm
Yeah.
not spoiling anything too much. But like the first thing he does is like want to punch you, but he can't.
Sweet.
He has problems.
Oh.
So yeah, he has rage problems. So anyway,
Well, he's Knuckles.
have you been playing anything lately?
No.
I knew the answer to that, but I just
That's
want to
funny.
make sure. I just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate you asking, though.
Yeah.
No games for me. I don't know when the next time I'm going to play a game is. Probably Resident Evil 4 Remake when it comes out.
When is that?
March?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I was bummed at first because they were like, oh, PS5, and I do not have a PS5. My understanding is they're still very hard to get,
Yeah.
and I also don't have it in my budget right now to be just buying a PS5. So, yeah, but then they announced they're going to do the previous generation too. So
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm still on the fence on that because I just beat 4 on. I beat 4. I think it was. I played it on PS5, but it was on the PlayStation Network. Whatever it was.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, they're.
Yeah, or maybe I beat it on Switch. I can't remember at this point.
You beat
anyway,
4.
I just beat it like not too long.
So it feels
ago.
kind of weird to like play a remake already, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because there's no like nostalgia for you.
No, it's like so. And games are different. Like I can't pick up a story. I'm different with games where I can't pick up a story game like that, like a story-based game like that, and play it again. I can pick up like Breath of the Wild and just run around for a little bit.
I wonder if they'll do enough different stuff in the remake that it'll be like, I don't know.
You're going to be my test run.
I'll let you know.
You're going to be like you're going to be my eyes and ears on the street.
I know it's more horror oriented than the original.
Okay.
They're focusing more on the horror aspect and not as much on the action. I mean, there's action, but the chainsaw guy is still running around.
Perfect.
Remember him?
Yes.
Dr. Salvador.
Yes.
Anyway, all right.
You want to get into this bracket?
Yeah, we got some bracketology here.
We do.
Tim, you had this idea for a number 2 bracket.
Yes.
We're not talking about our favorite poops.
No,
that
we've already talked
taken.
about ratemypoop.com on here.
Yes, of course. We are talking about number 2s in various horror franchises. So this is not a sequel bracket per se. This is strictly a second chapter
Yeah.
bracket. And there are a lot of them. I'm excited.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had some. I put together this bracket. I had some criteria for it at first. Like I tried to pick stuff at first that was from franchises over 5. Like I didn't want to just put like a Pumpkinhead 2 in here. Like I wanted to pick something from longer running franchises so we could get like a better, like more context within the franchise as well.
Sure.
Then I realized, because I started, my cutoff point was 5, and then I realized like I don't want, because then like I was leaving Evil Dead 2 out. I was leaving The Conjuring 2 out. I'm like, I want to put those in, so I just kind of went with my gut.
Yeah, well, the thing is, to be fair, if you look at like the expanded Conjuring like universe, there are 5 chapters in that thing.
Right.
And when you look at Evil Dead, there's also the remake of Evil Dead, and there is
The TV show.
The TV show.
Yes.
So I think that's enough to warrant the inclusion of those 2.
For sure. And just a reminder of how we do things, because it's been a while since we've done a bracket. These are not how we rank them, 1 through 16. These are based off of imdb.com. ratings, user ratings.
Yes.
So if you have a problem with this, take it up with yourself because you may have rated these on IMDb.
Yeah, or the people that rate movies on IMDb.
Yes. Have you ever rated a movie on IMDb?
Probably. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure I have.
I probably have, but yeah, but I'm with you. It's been a long time. I do use the ratings, but it's more out of curiosity. Like, I don't base my viewing on them. I like to see, like, especially when it comes to franchises, I like to see what I use it for, like, general consensus. Because I think it's probably one of the better ways we can get, like, an idea of because Rotten Tomatoes doesn't really do it with audience. They do it with audiences with new movies, but, like, older movies, it's spottier.
You can't really, yeah.
So I like to use it as kind of like a general consensus on a movie. It's the best we've got when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not great. It's not perfect, but maybe I should start rating them as like a way to help out. You know what I mean? So like
to contribute
and to like counteract like some of the troll ratings.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't want to just go in there and say like, what's a movie that gets trolled a lot now? Like,
I don't know.
Well, the Ghostbusters, the Lady Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Lady Ghostbusters. Yeah.
So like someone gives it a 1, and I'm like, well, I don't want to go on there just like 10. I want to be like, well, it's not my favorite.
It's not a 10.
It's not a 10. I'm going to give it an actual rating, like my rating, but it's not a 1 either.
Right. Yeah, it's a movie that can be watched.
Yes. So there you go. That's
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what we use to rank these. So
Indeed.
So there we go. You ready to get started here with our first matchup?
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
I think we're going to go on the 1 seed side and just go right down that side of the bracket.
Right down the side, okay.
If you are cool with that. So, you like to pick these on air.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at the bracket a few times.
You've looked at the bracket. You know it, yeah.
And do I have a general idea of what's going to wind up, making it to the end? Yeah, I think so. But sometimes I don't like to overthink.
Yeah. I like to overthink because I've got stuff I have picked. I'm like, I can't pick right now. There's a matchup coming up. Let's get an easy one out of the way, though, I think.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is our number 1 seed. That had a IMDb rating of 7.7. The lone survivor of an onslaught of flesh-possessing spirits holes up in a cabin with a group of strangers while the demons continue their attack.
Yes.
And that is taking on Leprechaun 2 with a 4.6 rating on IMDb. On his 1000th birthday, an evil leprechaun selects the descendant of one of his slaves to have as his bride, leaving it up to the girl's boyfriend to save her.
I forgot what that movie was about until you ran through it.
Willie, who you got here? Who you got? Who's your pick?
It's Evil Dead 2. I mean, there's no, I'm not, I don't know. There's no way it was ever going to be Leprechaun 2. I will say with Leprechaun 2, the issue with that movie in particular is that, like, I remember most of Leprechaun 1, like the gist. And I don't know if that's because it's the first or because Jennifer Aniston's, I remember the movie. I remember Leprechaun 3 because that's where he's in Vegas.
That's the Vegas one, yep.
I remember 4 because that's where he's in space.
Yeah.
I remember 5 and 6 because that's the hood.
Yep.
I even remember the crappy Hornswoggle one. So, I remember nothing about 2.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So I'm going to try to refresh your memory here.
Oh, boy.
Because I had to refresh my memory.
Yeah.
This is the one with Uncle Morty. You remember Uncle Morty? He's like the con man. He's kind of like a drunk. He's like the con man. He tries to con the leprechaun at one point, and the leprechaun makes a pot of gold appear in his stomach, and it expands in his stomach. Okay.
I kind of do remember that.
So here are some of the kills, though. This one takes place on St. Patrick's Day.
Is this Propeller Boobs?
This is Propeller Boobs.
Okay, that's a good part.
Yep, this is where the guy gets his face chopped up by the blade boobs.
Yeah.
There's also a good face steam kill in this.
Okay.
This is directed by... There's some fun kills in this one. This one's directed by Rodman Flender.
Yeah.
Who did the terrific Idle Hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this the pogo stick kill one, too?
That sounds right, but don't quote me on that.
I think he pogo sticks a guy to death.
I didn't write that one down.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, there are some fun kills in Leprechaun, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Warwick Davis is always a treat to watch.
It's a Leprechaun movie. What do you want?
Yeah, I mean,
I've got Evil Dead 2 as well, but
yes.
Leprechaun 2, yeah, I kind of remember it, but I don't know. It was a decent enough sequel. I might like it better than the first one if I watch it. I don't know.
But Evil Dead 2 is like Evil Dead 2. So.
Evil Dead 2 is a classic.
I mean, it's hard to.
Yeah, it's. I'm not talking about it much because it's going pretty far.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Let's get to one that I think is much tougher.
Yes.
And it should be because it's the 8-9 matchup. So when you're watching like the NCAA tournament, the 8-9 games are a lot of the times the most competitive games.
Sure.
Because they're the most evenly matched teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this falls into that category.
Absolutely.
The number 8 seed with a 6.3 rating is Scream 2. 2 years after the first series of murders, as Sydney acclimates to college life, someone donning the Ghostface costume begins a new string of killings. This is going up against Final Destination 2. Kimberly has a premonition of an accident killing multiple people, including her and her friends. She blocks the cars behind her on the ramp, and as a police trooper arrives, the accident happens. Death is stalking this group of survivors. A premonition.
Premonition.
Who do you got here?
You know what's funny is I just recently had a conversation with a friend about IMDb ratings, funny enough. And in that same conversation, we talked about sequels. This friend of mine had never seen Aliens before.
Okay.
And he watched Aliens for the first time. And I was saying how I think Aliens is like a perfect sequel. Like I think it is as perfect as a sequel could possibly be, as a part 2 could possibly be.
Yeah.
It expands the universe set up in the first movie. It ups the stakes. It gets a little crazier. Develops the characters a bit more. It does everything I think a sequel should do. Scream 2 and Final Destination 2 both accomplish that as well. I think as far as like horror series and part 2s, you're not going to find much better than those two movies. I think Final Destination 2 surpasses Final Destination 1. No question. I think it raises the bar, and I think it's the best of that franchise.
I would agree.
Yeah. It's a really, really great movie. For me, it's Scream 2, though. And the reason for that is Scream 2 is a movie that's, well, not as good as the first film. I think there are certain things it does better, even, than the first movie. And that's only allowed... It's only able to do those things purely because it is the sequel. I think the chase scenes are better in Scream 2 overall. I think some of like the set pieces in Scream 2 are bigger and crazier, but really, really work. I'm thinking in particular of the chase with Gale through the recording studio.
Yes,
towards the end. It's fantastic. Probably the best chase scene in the franchise. The emotions are higher because you've now seen these characters survive a movie, and it's something you don't get in many slasher movies: is characters carrying over and lasting. So you actually like legitimately care when these characters are in peril or get killed. It's not as good as the first film, but I do think Scream 2 is. This is a tough one, but Scream 2 for me is the winner here. I just think it's so good. I really legitimately think Scream 2 is kind of great. And I know it has its detractors, but I think it's still the best Scream sequel. So, yeah.
There are two, matchups I haven't picked because I couldn't do it.
This is one of them, right?
This is one of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Scream 2. You convinced me.
Yeah.
But here's what it is. So Final Destination 2, I'm with you. It's my favorite of the franchise, and it's a franchise I like, too. It's not like I'm like, oh, this is the best of a bad franchise. Yeah. Final Destination, I think, is a really fun twist on the slasher formula, and I think it's kind of brilliant in that way.
It is.
I think this movie realizes that in the best ways of the franchise. I also think, it has the best deaths. What's funny is it has the least amount of deaths statistically in the franchise, but it makes the deaths count. This is the one, of course, with the log truck kill,
which is one of the best
moments
in horror history. It's phenomenal,
and it traumatized anybody who has ever
been behind a log truck.
Behind a log truck, yes. It has the one with the eye with the ladder.
That's a good one.
And then it has the barbed wire fence kill,
which is insane.
So that's in a Final Destination movie. That's what you need.
The kills matter.
Are the kills?
Yeah.
I think that Scream 2 gets the win here for me because I think that opening is kind of brilliant.
It's fantastic.
We've talked about it, and I don't want to go too in depth on it. But we talked about it in our Scream 2 wrap up. But I think Scream 2 has more to say about a lot of things than Final Destination does. Mm-hmm. I think also I'm giving it the nod because it ends with a Collective Soul song.
She says, I don't know any of the words.
And I don't believe Final Destination 2 does.
No.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I just like ultimately like the kills in Final Destination 2 are phenomenal. And like I don't remember a single character from that movie. Like there's like I just remember them being dispatched, which is kind of the point.
Yes.
But like
and I even remember the characters like introduced specifically for Scream 2. Like they
yes.
they stick in my
They
head.
stick out. Yeah.
All right, so we both have Scream 2 there as well.
Indeed.
Saw 2 is number 4 seed with a 6.6 on IMDb. A detective and his team must rescue 8 people trapped in a factory by a twisted serial killer known as Jigsaw. So there you go. That's the plot of Saw 2 and like every other Saw movie. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 at number 13. A radio host, this is a 5.6 on IMDb. A radio host is victimized by the cannibal family known as a former Texas Marshal hunts them. All right. So these this is a matchup right here. Saw 2 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is kind of in my opinion it's underrated. I think 5.6 is very low. Like that's only like 1 point higher than Leprechaun 2 and it deserves better than that. Saw 2. The tough thing about the Saw sequels because they have such a continuity is that they kind of begin to blend together to me as the series goes on. And I remember the Saw movies it's similar to the Final Destination movies where I remember the Saw movies, not so much by the kills, of course, but kind of by the kills, the traps. And so this has some pretty decent traps. And as I was going through them, I went, oh, you know what? I kind of like this one. And that's always how it tips me off. But this has the death mask, I believe, at the beginning of the movie. It has the magnum, the eye hole with the magnum on the other side. But the one for me that sticks out, no pun intended, is the needle pit is in Saw 2, which is one of the gnarliest traps in the entire Saw. Maybe next to the Chester Bennington skin.
That's the hardest one to watch.
So I am going to go Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 because it's a movie I love, and it sticks out for me a little more. I do like Saw 2 though, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite like horror dark comedies. And I'll talk a little bit about it later, but I'll go TCM 2.
Awesome.
Who you got?
I think they're both strong showings, and I think that one of them is so different from the first that I respect it.
TCM?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one is just a really kind of great, once again, continuation of the story of the first film, but also like upping the stakes, upping the body count, upping the action. So I'm actually going to go Saw 2 on this one.
Okay. This is the Donnie Wahlberg one as well.
Yeah, he's in a couple, but like this is where he's like the lead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Saw 2, which I feel weird about, but like I have to say I've never been I respect the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it's a great film. I understand why it is regarded the way it is. It's never been one of my favorites by any means. It just hasn't ever been. I've never been a Leatherface guy. And I do enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 as much as you can enjoy that movie. But I don't know. I'm more of an the first 3 Saw movies I think are kind of great.
Yeah.
After that, not so much. But yeah, I'm gonna go Saw 2.
The Saw series is one.
I feel like I have to defend myself, but
the Saw series for me is one that I like the series as a whole, but it's because I like the goofy continuity as it goes on.
It gets ridiculous.
So they do start to blend together for me.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably part of the issue for me.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2.
OG Halloween 2.
Yes.
Not zombie.
Not zombies Halloween
not
2.
H2.
That was the other thing. I disqualified any like sequels to remakes, whatever, like that too. 6.5. While Dr. Loomis hunts for Michael Myers, a traumatized Laurie is rushed to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, and the Shape is not far behind her. Against number 12, Paranormal Activity 2, 5.7. After experiencing what they think are a series of break-ins, a family sets up security cameras around their home only to realize that the events unfolding before them are more sinister than they seem. All right. All right, here we go. I'll be honest. So you didn't remember Leprechaun 2? Not at all. What I remember about correct me if I'm wrong, the Paranormal Activity movies, the odd ones are the ones I like. So here's the other thing too is like this happens. We saw Paranormal Activity 2 in a theater together. I believe you, because the other thing with these types of movies are like the paranormal. I have a blast watching them in the theater, and then I never watch them again, and they just whoosh out of my head. So like it's very much in the moment. I find thrills in these.
And one of us that worked at the store really wanted to go see Paranormal Activity 2, and we were all kind of groaning, like,
yeah.
And except for probably you, I doubt you were groaning. You were like, yeah, let's go. And we saw it. I remember like we were all like miserable because it was just not very good. And there was a scene where like the lead is in the kitchen and all of the kitchen cupboards like fly open at once, and it was supposed to be this big grand scare, and like we all just laughed like a ton. That's my only memory of Paranormal Activity 2 is us chuckling and like cackling in the theater about Paranormal Activity 2 and the cabinets.
Okay.
Yeah, we laughed a lot about that. So,
okay, so the cabinets.
Yeah,
that's
like,
the big
like
thing.
she's in the kitchen. They're like building the suspenseful scene, and like they're doing that thing with like the home camera where you're like, where's the scare going to come from? Right? It's that classic kind of like found footagey thing. And then like she's in the kitchen, all the cabinets just open up really fast, and like that was like this, like they were building this for like 3 minutes of screen time, and you're like, okay, like it was really funny. Anyway, yeah. So no, it's Halloween 2.
Yeah, I've got Halloween 2. The other thing, too, with modern franchises.
Yeah.
Like that. So, and this is not just limited to horror, but I'm sure this is something, there's probably some reasoning before this in the brain. But like with other things, I always use wrestling as an example, but I'm going to use like football as an example. Like I can recite like every Michigan State football team's like record from like 1998 to like 2003.
That's like my father-in-law with U of M. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I can do that, but like once you start getting into like more recent years, I'm like it all just kind of runs together because I'm getting old and I don't retain as much stuff.
Well, that was like those were probably the years when you had your highest peak of like where your brain was still like collecting information.
And I didn't have as many responsibilities, and I was able to like solely focus on like a couple different things. Yeah. But it's the same way, across like all sorts of entertainment. Like I can name you. I still watch like seasons of shows. I can name you. I can tell you everything that happens in like season 2 of Scrubs. Yeah. Because I watched it live, but I can't tell you. I watched Abbott Elementary. I couldn't tell you what happened in Abbott Elementary last night.
You're like, I have no idea.
So there you go, and that's how I am with the Paranormal Activity movies. So, I will say this kind of learned from the Blair Witch, because the first Paranormal Activity was kind of a phenomenon.
Yes.
And that followed up with Book of Shadows or whatever.
Which is so crazy.
So
you're a fan, right?
I like Book of Shadows, but it's in the same way I like another movie, Freddy's Revenge.
Oh yeah.
Like it's similar in that it's kind of like a weird entry that I just kind of like, but I can't defend it. But this learned from it and just kind of do what some sequels do, which is just kind of make the same movie. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. I think we're ready to move over to the other side of the bracket.
Yes, it's time.
Dawn of the Dead with a 7.8. This is the number 2 seed. I may have mixed these up. Whatever. I don't think it matters very much because it's 1-2. I may have mixed the ratings up. Whatever. Following an ever-growing epidemic of zombies that have risen from the dead, 2 Philadelphia SWAT team members, a traffic reporter, and his television executive girlfriend seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. And this is going up against number 15, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. A teenage boy is haunted in his dreams by deceased child murderer Freddy Krueger, who is out to possess him in order to continue his reign of terror in the real world. Willie, who you got here?
Oh, it's Dawn of the Dead. Like, there's no, like, I do think Freddy's Revenge is really, really crazy and kind of fun, and I think that I like the reappraisal it's gotten because the reappraisal's honest. Like, nobody's sitting here going, man, this movie's great. But they're sitting there and saying, like, there's some interesting stuff going on in this movie, and they're totally right. And all the stuff with Mark Patton, I think, is really fun. Like all the stuff he's done since, like talking about the movie and about his homosexuality and like how it tied into him in the role and how it affected. Like, I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff in Freddy's Revenge, and that's come out of Freddy's Revenge. But Dawn of the Dead is one of my all-time favorite films, let alone horror movies, and it's an infinitely better film in every way than Freddy's Revenge. It just is. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing with Nightmare, so I'll just Dawn of the Dead, because Dawn of the Dead is Dawn of the Dead. So
I mean that, and it sucks to have to say that, but it's true, right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to go any deeper into that in this round. Nightmare on Elm Street is a movie for me. We always talk about like the black sheeps of the franchises. We talk about Halloween 3. We talk about Friday the 13th Part 5. This is, for me, this is that. And that it's gained a cult following. And it should, because it's an interesting movie. The problem I have with it is, for me, it's more interesting than it is good. The other thing with cult movies is, sometimes it's important to remember with cult movies is that they can be kind of boring. And there's a reason why these didn't catch on with mainstream audiences. And it's because sometimes they can be, you have to meet a movie halfway. You have to meet it on its level, and you have to vibe with that movie for it to be a cult movie, for you to connect with it. And by definition, that means it's not going to connect with everybody. And a lot of times that means it's not very interesting for some people. But it's an entertaining movie to dissect. The gay subtext in it. The other thing, too, that I think is interesting about it doesn't have a ton of Freddy, and it doesn't have jokey Freddy. So this is more scary Freddy. The jokey Freddy kind of comes more in Part 3, which is the template moving forward for Freddy, which Dream Warriors is amazing. It's my favorite movie, I think, in the series.
Yeah.
But it also commits the sin that would ruin this franchise for me moving forward, which is jokey, unfunny Freddy. And 2 has the advantage in that area, which is it's kind of a scary Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I've got Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 7 versus number 10 here. Phantasm 2, Mike. With a 6.4, Mike, now released from a psychiatric hospital, meets with Reggie and discovers his dreams are real, and they both journey to find and stop the evil tall man from his grim work. Grim work, ain't that the truth?
Indeed.
Versus number 10, Friday the 13th Part 2 with a 6.1. 5 years after the events of the first film, a summer camp next to the infamous Camp Crystal Lake is preparing to open, but the legend of Jason is weighing heavy on the proceedings. What do you got here, Willie?
It's going to be Friday the 13th Part 2 for me. I like the Phantasm series quite a bit. I think I like all of the entries in the Phantasm series to varying degrees. But Phantasm 2 is one of the weaker ones for me, if I remember correctly. 3 I like a lot.
3 is my favorite sequel.
Yes. 3 feels like the Dream Warriors of the Phantasm series. They do that weird recast of Mike in this where
James LaGrosse.
Yeah, that doesn't quite work as well, and it feels out of place because of that. It's still a fun sequel, and it does up the ante and whatnot. But Friday the 13th Part 2, just for me, those Paramount Friday the 13th movies are very hard to beat.
Yeah,
those first 8 Paramount movies, maybe not 7 and 8 as much. Those can be beat pretty by a lot of things, but the first 6 are pretty tough to beat, and that's just my personal opinion. But I think the Phantasm 2 does more interesting stuff, certainly, and I mean I think the Phantasm series probably does more interesting stuff overall, even if it doesn't always make a hell of a lot of sense than the Friday the 13th series, but. I have a soft spot for Ginny and Mark and Sackhead Jason and Muffin and all this stuff that came out of this movie. It's not even my favorite Friday the 13th movie. I don't even think it's in my top 3, but it's still, it's such a special, it has a special place in my heart. This is one where I'll fully admit that my personal nostalgia and love of that particular movie is going to outweigh. It's gonna make this movie beat a movie it normally wouldn't if I was being more logical, not thinking with my heart, I guess. So yeah, for me it's Friday 2.
I have got Friday 2 as well. We're pretty lockstep except for 1 right now.
We're close, yeah.
I'm with you. 3 is my favorite Phantasm sequel. This
Yes.
is the Universal produced one. This is the one with where the rights are the pain in the ass for like Blu-ray and all that.
Yeah, it's got a budget this time.
It does have a budget, but yeah, it's also. But for that reason, it's a lot of times it's the one I watch the least because like it was hard to find and like, it was hard to find. So you can watch 3, 4 all the time as sequels in the first one, but
Yeah.
2 a lot of times on streaming services like it won't even pop up on there because the rights
I
are
know.
such a pain in the ass
I
to
know.
get. But this was when Universal was like resurrecting old franchises around this time. They did it with Army of Darkness a couple years later as well. This is a good, not great sequel. It's where Reggie becomes a little bit more Ash, like from Evil Dead.
He does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like this one, but 3 is my Phantasm. And Friday the 13th Part 2 has a lot going for it. It sets the template for what those movies will become in a lot of ways. It has Sackhead Jason. It has my favorite final girl in Ginny. It's got the campfire scene. Like, it has all of the elements that we would see in that franchise and in slasher franchise a lot, like kind of moving forward.
It's not your favorite in the franchise, right? But it is your favorite of the first 4 or the early ones. Is that correct? Or
Nah, I kind of lean. It's a toss up between this and Final Chapter.
Yeah.
Of those first 4, I think I like the group better. There are things I like about 2 though. It might be 2 now that I think about it
I was
because
just curious. I
I like the kids. I think maybe no, but 4 is Christmas. Whatever. It's 2 and 4.
2 and 4. Yeah.
that I like. I'm not as big out, so maybe the even ones are my favorite in the Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but then
No, it's not. That's
part
not
5.
true. Yeah, that's
So.
that falls apart immediately. So yeah, I've got Friday the 13th Part 2.
Nice.
What a matchup we have here. The Conjuring 2 with a 7.3. The Warrens travel to North London to help a single mother raising 4 children alone in a house plagued by a supernatural spirit. And this is going up against Critters 2 with a 5.5. Eggs of the small but voracious alien creatures called Krites excuse me, are left behind on Earth and after hatching, set their appetites on the small farm town of Grover's Bend. Who you got in this matchup of very similar movies?
What a matchup. Yeah, eerily similar. I love Critters 2. We've talked about the Critters franchise before. We did a Fight the Franchise about them, correct? But,
Yes.
So, I mean, we're Critters, we're Crite fans, but Critters 2 is the best of that entire series. Critters 1 kind of sucks, like, compared to Critters 2. Critters 2 rules. This is the one with the hungry heifer. Where they go to town on a hamburger joint. It's awesome. The giant critter ball is in this. Yeah, it rules. Conjuring 2 is going to win. and I say that because Conjuring 2 is better than the first movie, in my opinion. I think that don't get me wrong, we're living in a very good time for horror, for horror, I think. TV, movies, video games, like it is a good time. We're eating good, as the kids say.
Yeah.
But I will say there is certainly there's kind of a trend right now to do the elevated horror thing, right? And it doesn't mean those movies are bad that are considered elevated horror, but it's this way of like, I think you quoted somebody once saying something along the lines of like, it's a way for people who don't like horror movies to say that they like a horror movie. Yeah, it's a Joe Bob quote, yeah. And it's totally true. The thing about The Conjuring is, Conjuring isn't doing anything to feel like an elevated horror film, but it kind of is. Mm-hmm. Like, it does such good character work, and it has so many like really cool like subdued moments amidst all like the chaos of the haunting and the possession stuff and all. Like, it just does a really great job of just being a really good, crowd-pleasing, entertaining movie. Even though it's very much a horror film. So Conjuring 2, I think, is just... It is elevated horror without trying to be an elevated horror movie. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like, it's very much of the horror genre, but it is achieving... It's achieving something that gives it more of a mainstream appeal while also being satisfying as a horror film. So.
I think we talked about it too. We talked about Conjuring 2 on one of the episodes a long time ago, but I remember us talking about it. It's like an athlete like in his prime.
Yeah.
With James Wan as the director because he is operating at like peak performance.
Yeah.
Like he knows how to make a good good horror movie. He knows how to craft a good horror sequence, and he's kind of toying with the audience a lot of time. And it's like watching a great athlete.
It really is. No, it is.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that's with Conjuring 2. Critters 2 also watching a great Mick Garris also.
Hell yeah.
This might be my favorite Mick Garris movie. This might be my favorite. This is definitely my favorite Critters movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like Critters 2. I think it's a ton of fun. In my head, this is the good Critters movie, the quote unquote good one, because I'm with you. I don't like the series. It's fine. I'm not bashing the Critters. I have fun with the Critters.
It's not
movie.
great.
It's not a great series, but this is the one where if I were ever to go, if you really want to watch a Critters movie, Critters 2 is the one.
That's the way
watch.
to go.
Yes.
Yeah, I would play Critters 2 for Josie.
Right.
I bet you think it was hilarious.
And I love the Critter Ball.
It's sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a great effect. It's the Kyoto Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great effect. But I also have Conjuring 2. All right, our final matchup of the first round, and then we can move on from the rankings and the plot descriptions, all of it. Number 6, Hellraiser 2. Kirsty is brought to an institution after the horrible events of Hellraiser, where the occult-obsessive head doctor resurrects Julia and unleashes the Cenobites in their demonic underworld. Do we still refer to them as head doctors? Or wait, it's a head doctor? Sorry,
he's the head doctor.
He's the head doctor. Sorry, I thought they were talking about.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Versus Child's Play 2 with a 5.9. While Andy's mother is admitted to a psychiatric hospital, the young boy is placed in foster care, and Chucky, determined to claim Andy's soul, is not far behind. That one is directed by John Laffey, who did the terrific Man's Best Friend.
With Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen and the dog. Also starring Jetty Agutter.
Oh, my.
A young crush of mine from
yes.
American Werewolf.
That's right.
Who you got here? Hellraiser 2 or Child's Play 2?
So Hellraiser 2, another great example of a sequel that expands the universe set up in the original, develops the characters more thoroughly. We do get a returning character that we actually follow with Kirsty. I like Hellraiser 2 a lot. But it's Child's Play 2 for me. Child's Play 2 is, you know what's funny about this? Hellraiser 2 is a sequel to, one of the, darkest horror films ever, period. Just, dripping with darkness, and just, if you've seen Hellraiser, you know. But yet, somehow it winds up being this movie that has, this kind of sense of, hope and uplifting, it feels like good has conquered evil at the end of Hellraiser 2 to me. The demons are finally destroyed. Child's Play is a movie about a killer doll. And ultimately, that's what it's about. And, somehow the sequel has the opposite effect. Child's Play is a creepy movie and stuff, but it is always played with a certain level of tongue-in-cheek. And Tom Holland directed the original, and he's very good at that. Child's Play 2 is a sequel to that movie, and somehow it's insanely. It is one of the meanest movies ever made.
Yeah,
it's so mean.
It is. Yeah, John Laffey, I believe, too, co-wrote the original Child's Play as well. So I wonder if you get a little bit more of his voice in this one, because he's the director now. He's kind of the head, and you get a little bit less of Don Mancini's voice.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So maybe that's because Mancini's movies, as they go on, tend to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more jokey.
Yes.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Child's Play 2 it kind of feels like a black sheep in the franchise in some ways, because it is so it's not very funny, it's not very goofy, it's just kind of nasty, and I love it so much. Child's Play 2 is my favorite Child's Play movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, the original is the better movie, but it's your
favorite sequel.
Kind of my personal favorite. Yeah, it's Child's Play 2 for me. Hellraiser 2 is great, but I got a soft spot for Child's Play 2. That finale in the Toy Factory rules so hard.
I used to, when I was a kid, I used to go to this thing. It was a community center is what it was, but it was like a basketball, a gym with... on weekend mornings, I would go there. I'd play basketball or I'd play foosball. They had a foosball upstairs.
It's like a YMCA situation.
It's kind of for kids, and they'd have. My dad would go play basketball, and I'd run around the upstairs and all that stuff. But they had a TV there was a common room area, and they had a TV, and a lot of times it would play whatever it was on basketball, but hooked up to cable. But USA Network, for whatever reason, was on a lot because like the kids was getting control, and like there was a kid. One of my first exposures to horror movies, I think maybe in general, but definitely the Child's Play franchise. Child's Play 2 was like in constant rotation on USA Network back in the day.
It might still be.
It may still be. But
some say it's still playing on USA.
Child's Play 2, and now it's like the Harry Potter movies are out all the time.
Oh yeah.
But I walked by and it was the end. It was the climax, and it's the part where like Chucky turns into like the monster, like the melty
He's, like,
face,
melting and stuff. It's so sweet.
gross. And like I think maybe like as I look back in my brain, like I think this is what hooked me a lot of it. Like there are certain moments like this that have stuck with me forever that like hook me as a horror fan because I'm like, whoa.
Oh, it like fascinates you.
And
right?
the kid that was watching it was like having a blast with it. Like he's like, this is crazy.
How could you not?
Yeah. So, but I've got Hellraiser 2 as well too because, like you said, I think this is a great sequel. This reminds me. This is in the vein of like Scream 2, where it takes the first one, blows it up a little bit. There are two ways you can go about a sequel, and we've seen different variations on it. And this takes the route of kind of widening the greater mythology. I don't think it necessarily has the budget to do so, but man, like we talk about,
it's an ambitious movie.
The new term is like big swings. Like you took a big swing. Like this is a big swing. Like Hellraiser 2 is a big swing, and it feels very much like it gets more into that horror fantasy realm that Barker kind of made his living with in his novels, like Weaverworld and Imagica. Like this feels to me like kind of Clive's imagination put on screen.
Yes,
more than the first Hellraiser in a lot of ways. So,
and I think that's really cool.
Me too. So I've got Hellraiser 2 as well.
Great choice. I will say the no trailer for a movie has ever haunted me more than when I was a child seeing the trailer. We went to a kids movie in the theater. My dad and I used to take me to the theater a lot as a kid. Yeah. And for some reason, they accidentally like played a trailer reel for another movie, like the wrong movie or something. This is back when it was like on film reels, and they played the trailer reel, and the Child's Play 2 trailer played ahead of time. And I don't know if you remember this, but it's like a black screen with a Jack in the Box in the center, and it's just the and like. I remember sitting there like fixated on like what's going to happen, and then he came out of it, and it like ruined me. So anyway, I had to share that. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about what the hell that made me feel as a kid. Anyway,
all right, so let's go back to the other side of the bracket. So I just want to make sure. Well, you're good, right? Because your microphone dropped a little bit.
Yeah. So I think I was having issues earlier. Listening audience, I think the plug at the bottom was loose.
So just in case we missed a little bit, I don't think we did. I think I saw your levels for most of the time.
I apologize for my microphone issues.
But I just want we the first round was Evil Dead 2. We both had Evil Dead 2 versus Leprechaun 2. We both had Evil Dead 2 winning. We both had Scream 2 over Final Destination 2.
Correct.
And then I think where we had the issues were Saw 2.
I had Saw 2, you had TCM 2.
TCM 2, and then we both had Halloween 2.
Correct.
So Evil Dead 2 versus Scream 2. Both of us have that.
Yep.
I am picking Evil Dead 2. I like Scream 2. I just think when it comes to what I love about the Evil Dead franchise, and honestly, Sam Raimi and horror in general, Evil Dead 2 is kind of everything I want in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, so this is nothing against Scream 2, which I think is a terrific sequel. Evil Dead 2 is just balls to the wall insanity from the jump. Scream 2, while very good, is not that. And it's, in terms of rewatchability, I rewatch Evil Dead 2. I try to rewatch it every year. So there you go. My pick is Evil Dead 2 there. Who you got, Willie?
For me, it's Scream 2 for me. I love Evil Dead 2, but I've never been like, it's like when I say I love Evil Dead 2, like I mean it. Like I actually like Evil Dead 1 more.
Okay.
But Evil Dead 2 has always been one of those like do you ever have one of those movies where like you hear all the time about how like it is like a quintessential like people tell you like it's a classic, like it is an important like, and I get it and I understand, like it never has been for me personally. It just never was in my formative years. It was never that. I feel bad like saying it out loud, but like Evil Dead 2 was never an important movie for me as a kid.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. some other movies were. And for me, the Scream franchise and that first two movies in particular, it just more important to my formative years, I guess. So I'm gonna go Scream 2 on this one. Man, I'm gonna get skewered, aren't I?
No. This is your bracket, sir. So you have Saw 2 against Halloween 2. So who you got?
I'm gonna go Halloween 2 on this.
Okay.
This is a game time decision. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
That
was your gut.
Is that the sports reference?
That was your gut. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be Halloween 2. I think Halloween 2. I don't love Halloween 2 actually, but I think it's a solid sequel to the first movie. I love the idea that it takes place in the same night. I've always found that to be really cool. I wish more sequels did stuff like that. Weren't afraid to take more of a non-traditional approach to the sequel, not like a 10 years later or whatever.
Right.
I like the next night thing or the same night thing. Saw 2 I think is very good. Tobin Bell is always great. Shawnee Smith is great, but man, you can't beat Pleasance in Halloween 2 because he's the perfect mixture of the crazy ass Loomis that would come later, where he'd be like a raving lunatic, and you're like, this is the worst doctor in the history of doctors. But also has a little bit left over from that first movie where he's got a little bit of pathos and you can understand his. Yeah, he's a nice mix. It's Halloween 2. I love the hospital setting too. So there you go.
All right, so I've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 versus Halloween 2.
Man.
And I'm gonna come out and say it. I'm not a huge. I picked Halloween 2 just because I don't remember Paranormal Activity that too, and I don't remember liking it that much.
Yeah.
And I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's the one I revisit the most of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a dark comedy. It also, to me, in a lot of ways, feels like Texas. It feels like driving through Texas. It takes place on, I believe it's the Red River Rivalry, Texas-Oklahoma weekend. It's got that. So the other thing is Halloween 2 takes place at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. It's boring. Hospitals are boring. Nobody wants that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a lair in it. It's got an
It is a sweet lair, too.
It is.
And there's that weird grandma skeleton at the top.
There's dead animals. They've got Christmas lights all over. It makes no sense. And it's got an Oingo Boingo song. And it's No One Lives Forever, which is one of my favorite horror songs. Danny Elfman in Oingo Boingo. So I love this movie. Great final girl as well. So I love this movie, and yeah, I've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
TCM 2 is very Gremlins 2, right?
Yes, it is.
A studio is oh, that Texas Chainsaw, that movie really killed it. We need a sequel.
I believe that was another Universal late sequel, kind of in the same as Phantasm 2 and Army of Darkness.
And then Toby's like, okay, let me do whatever I want with it. And they were like, we don't care, go for it.
It feels very Toby Hooper, too.
Yeah.
It's very much of his sense of humor. Dennis Hopper is all over the place in the movie. There's a ton of screaming.
So much screaming. That's my one. There's a drawback for me. There's so much screaming at the end.
Oh, the end of that movie is all screaming.
Oh, my God. You can't watch it past, 7 p.m. You can't.
Oh, man, I just had this Seltzer Man.
How's that?
That's who I am.
Seltzer Man.
Strawberry guava. It is not. It tastes like corn chips.
It is not great, huh?
No. But I gotta get rid of these seltzers. They're taking up room.
Kill them off, man.
Yeah. All right. So let's finish out this side of the bracket.
Sure.
You have. So we've got different matchups.
We're
here.
completely different now. Yeah.
Scream 2 versus Halloween 2.
Yes.
Who you got?
Scream 2. It's a better movie. Halloween 2 is not. I don't think Halloween 2. I'm actually shocked that it went as far as it did. Because I don't love Halloween 2. I think there's some really good stuff in it, but I don't think that it's I think that there are plenty of other horror sequels and slasher sequels that are better, part 2s that are better than this. But no, Scream 2 is the better movie, and I think it does a better job of continuing the story from the first. Even though I think Halloween 2's same night mechanic is really cool. Yeah.
So, I have Evil Dead 2 versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yes.
Which are two later sequels matched up against each other. Evil Dead 2 is a little bit is closer to the original, though. Evil Dead 2 is not really a sequel, of course, but that's the thing is you can...
Yeah, what the hell is Evil Dead 2, Tim?
It's kind of...
Where do you stand?
What do we call it now? We call it... So it's kind of like a remake-quel.
A requel?
A requel? Yeah, because I mean, it's essentially the same movie, but a little bit different. So,
is there a canon though, like where you can fit both? Has anybody like hammered that out where you could have the canon of?
Yeah, I'm not the guy to do that. But
okay,
yeah.
But there is one. Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
I've always looked at it as like, okay, now we have a budget. Like, let's do what we want.
That is what
we wanted to do. Do what we wanted to do. So it's kind of both, but TCM2 is a sequel. They're both in a way kind of. I mean, they're not kind of. They're horror comedies.
They are. Both,
Evil Dead 2 is just like a Looney Tunes movie.
It is.
Yes. I mean, it's got the hand scene. It's got like the second half, and Bruce Campbell has said it many times, but the second half of Evil Dead 2 is where Ash becomes Ash.
Yes.
And it's also where Bruce Campbell gets to shine, and Bruce Campbell is one of my favorite actors. And like this is where he becomes Bruce Campbell. Like Bruce effing Campbell is in the second half.
He totally does.
And so that's the reason I've got Evil Dead 2 is because
excellent.
Yeah, it's Bruce Campbell. All right, other side of the bracket.
I was going to tell you later, but I'm going to tell you now because you're talking about Bruce Campbell. I hope you get excited by this, but the first guest announced for Motor City Nightmares this year is Bruce Campbell. The second person announced is Ted Raimi.
Fantastic, yeah.
So I'm hoping for Sam, but
Local Boys, yeah.
Anyway.
Sam doesn't do any cons, does he?
He has.
He has. Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
It's possible. Wouldn't rule it out.
Oh,
But you can get the Pizza Papa.
that might be. I mean, that'd be Sam might be one I want to meet. Like Sam Raimi. That like.
Would you want to meet Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Ted.
And Ted, yeah.
I feel like I could meet Ted though walking around Royal Oak.
You could. Here's my question before we move on. What would you have Bruce sign? Like, what movie would you have him sign either a picture or an item from? Would you have him sign an Evil Dead thing? Would you have him sign Bubba Hotep? Would you have him sign the Pizza Papa?
If I could get my hands on a picture of him from Spider-Man 1 as the wrestling ring announcer.
Oh.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
That might be it.
Very
for me.
nice.
Yeah.
What about Ted?
His character from Xena.
Sick. That's perfect.
Or maybe C-Lab. I think not C-Lab. What was it?
Sequest?
DFB. Not even, I don't think he was in C-Lab 2021, but
Maybe.
yeah, he may have been.
He's been in a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
Sam, I would get a picture of him in that picture of him in the hard hat. I was like that. Sam, he's
Classic picture.
classic picture. Let's move to the other side of the bracket. I think we both had Dawn of the Dead versus Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yes.
Who you got?
It's Dawn. It's Dawn. Dawn's a great film. Friday the 13th Part 2 is a lot of fun and crazy, but Dawn's the better movie. And for me, it's the clear winner here. Yep.
Same here. I don't really need reasoning beyond that. Friday 2 was a great slasher. I don't want to take anything away from it,
Nope.
but once again, Dawn is done. All right, Conjuring 2 versus Hellraiser 2. I think did you have Child's Play 2?
Yeah, Child's Play 2.
So, Conjuring 2 versus Child's Play 2. Who you got?
This is a tough one because I've mentioned already, like Child's Play 2 is kind of a weird soft spot for me. Conjuring 2 is kind of it is a great movie. I will go Conjuring 2 on this because I think it is legitimately certainly the better movie, and I think that it's Conjuring 2 is a really, really special modern horror film. I think it's really, really I was so taken aback by the things I was impressed with in this movie that I did not expect feeling. I just didn't expect to feel the feelings I felt when I was watching Conjuring 2. It's not what I signed up for, and I'm happy that it wasn't what I signed up for. So, yeah. Go with that.
All right, so I have Conjuring 2 and Hellraiser 2. Different movies. Definitely, this is the second one that I knew I had a matchup that I had to pick on air because I didn't want to pick it because this is very tough. I was looking at the other side of the bracket, and Scream 2 and Final Destination 2 I like more than most of the bottom half of that bracket. This one is just tough because there are two different movies. I am going to go with Hellraiser 2.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm only going to do that because I'm a Clive Barker fan, and it feels as close in some ways as we've gotten to have seen Clive Barker's imagination put on screen.
Yeah, this and Nightbreed are about as close as it gets.
Nightbreed is the other one I was thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, there's stuff in what's the Scott Bakula one that I'm blanking on right now?
Lord of Illusions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lord of Illusions as well.
Lord of Illusions is just kind of boring. That's my issue.
That's
with
the thing, yeah. Well, and that's kind of the other thing with too is Clive, especially later in like Cold Heart Canyon is a book I just read for the first time, and it's got a lot of the stuff I like about Clive, but also some of that later era Clive stuff where I'm like, it's kind of boring. Man, it's kind of like this is too long. So, anyway, I've got Hellraiser 2. I'm with you. What's funny is I don't. The Warrens, like Ed and Lorraine, like the real people don't even like exist to me in my head anymore.
No, it's just
it's Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson.
Yes.
Like they're the Warrens to me. Like they're their own characters now. And it's the Elvis scene that always sticks with me from that movie because it's like I can't recall. There are some, but
Is it I Can't Help Falling in Love with You?
Yeah. And it's like I was like emotionally affected by it.
It was great.
Yes. Yes. And even knowing some of like the shadier stuff
Yeah, I was going to say.
of the Warrens, but like I completely bought into these
Yeah.
two performances and these two people that I didn't care.
Nope.
I was just so, and that's the mark of a great director and great actors.
Yep. A great film.
A great film, and it's one of the only times I think I've been like affected. But Hellraiser 2 is just so batshit. I'm going with it. So,
I love it.
right. So, what do you have on this side of the bracket
I
again?
got Dawn versus Conjuring 2.
Okay.
It's Dawn. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's arguably, most people wouldn't argue it. I don't think the greatest piece of zombie fiction ever in the history of zombies, which we've certainly had a lot of zombie fiction in the last decade and a half, 2 decades. So it's Dawn. It's just it's phenomenal. Like it's a great film.
There's social commentary in Night, obviously,
Of course.
but Dawn is the one that I think set that template and set that expectation for zombie movies from there on out. It's the one that, for me, established a lot of what zombies movies try to say, and it also like because Night has it, but like Dawn feels like Romero saying, like, no, this is what I'm going to do with my zombie movies. Like,
Yeah, Dawn is a statement, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and I think part of it too is also like Night's primary social commentary, whether intentional or not, is commentary that was very much a response to that specific time. Not that it isn't relevant today, because it sadly is, but like it was a response to things going on at right then and there. Dawn's is actually a little bit ahead of its time. Not that materialism and capitalism and stuff like that haven't been, explored pre-'80s, but like Dawn's a little bit ahead of how crazy things would get in the following decade. And really how crazy things have remained since then. So yeah, Dawn's
Dawn in a lot of ways. Yeah, I mean they're both about human nature, but Dawn, it is about human nature. It's about kind of the malaise of yeah,
absolutely
what you get. Also, Dawn's a funny movie.
It is.
I've got Dawn as well here, but yeah, Dawn is
a funny movie.
It's a funny movie. I mean, we talk about the escalator zombie.
It's great.
Yeah,
so the nurse zombie.
the big finale is wacky and goofy as hell.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Half the music in the movie.
Yes. But like that's what makes it beautiful and wonderful and it's funny and smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I've got Dawn over Hellraiser 2.
Yeah.
As well. Is Dawn your favorite? I forgot. Or is it Day?
God.
Does it depend on the day?
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Yeah, no, generally it's when I was growing up it was always Dawn. I mean I was blown away by, don't get me wrong, like Day I'm always blown away by. Even when the first time I saw it, I was like horrified by it. I thought it was just
talk about great soundtracks too.
Oh, it's my favorite film score of all time.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
What's crazy about the Day? Just for a second, let me gush about a movie that's not on this bracket for a second.
Absolutely, will do a number 3 bracket.
We need to now. What's crazy about the Day score to me is like I always loved it, and it always resonated with me, but I didn't truly understand how much I loved it and how how much it encapsulates everything I love in film scores until I got the Waxwork record, and I listened to it front to back, and I went, "Holy shit, this is my favorite! Like, this is the best. It doesn't get better. Yeah. This is it." And John Harrison did far too little composing after that. But anyway, I think he did Creepshow, which is great. Yeah, so it fluctuates. It's been Day for the last. The darker the world is, the more I gravitate towards Day.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, in my opinion, the last decade or so has been a bit rough.
Yeah.
In terms of the world, I'm not saying my life, but the world. And so Day has, for a while here, held the top spot in terms of Romero.
Yeah.
But I'm always hoping Don will come back one of these days.
Yeah, we just got to get some. I mean, Don, we need to. Well, I guess that was a different time, too.
Hey, you know what? My student loan payments got postponed by 6 months today.
Yeah.
So, maybe Don will be my favorite.
No, Don will be your favorite. You're living high on the hog now.
Yeah.
Fat and sassy. Yeah. We have got, so what do we have now in the finals? Dawn and what do we got on the other side? You have Scream 2?
I got Scream 2 versus Dawn.
And I have Evil Dead 2 versus Dawn.
Correct. I think you have a much tougher decision to make here.
I knew what mine was going to come down to.
You knew it.
Yeah.
And I was pretty sure. I knew Dawn was going to win on the one side. I was thinking Scream would probably make it this far. Yeah, it's Dawn. I think Scream is once again, I think Scream 2 is actually, weirdly enough, has become kind of an underrated sequel. There's a lot of weird, Scream 2 hate.
Yeah.
I didn't realize existed. I don't know if it did at the time of release.
It feels to me like a lot of it, too, comes from, it's like the Ghostbusters 2 is the other one I think of, too. I guess it depends on when you watched it and how old you were when you watched it and when you connected to that first Scream, because honestly, it happens in a lot of horror franchises as well, too, because I know a lot of people just love that first movies, and then the sequels are just...
They would... Yeah. So, but it's Dawn for me, for sure.
I think it might be the Jerry O'Connell singing scene, too.
I think that's fun.
He's a big dork.
That's his character.
Yeah, there's always... Yeah,
right?
This is kind of an annoyance to me sometimes. If someone is a big dork in the movie and presented... This is the guy who wears, polos tucked into khakis all the time.
The whole movie.
He's a big dorky frat guy with a heart of gold, I might add. Yeah. But
he's supposed to be the opposite of Billy Loomis from the first movie.
Exactly. It's why she's attracted to him. But if he does a dorky thing and acts like a dork by singing on a table, and you're cringing, you're supposed to.
It's the character.
Yes. And it's also endearing that he's this big of a dork.
Yeah.
So sorry.
It's dumb.
Not every character is cool as hell. Billy Loomis,
dripping wet with whatever mysterious liquid that's
constantly. Skeet Ulrich, you're right.
He's always wet,
constantly wet.
Yes, always sprayed. He's like a pro wrestler.
Even on Riverdale. Although that makes sense because Riverdale seems to be on there seems to be fog in Riverdale at all times.
At all times, yes, yeah. Where does that take place, in the bayou? What are we doing?
In the bayou. It's the northeastern bayou.
Yeah, wherever that. Somebody that lives in the Northeast, tell us where the bayou's at.
Riverdale takes place in an imagination scape, like Clive Barker, something created in
Jersey
the mind.
Tucky.
Yes.
Love it. Tim, what do you got, man? Your decision, I think, is going to be certainly harder than...
It is, but this is where I just, I always just default to personal preference here, what I would watch right now. And it's Evil Dead 2. Because it's my favorite movie of all time.
It's also shorter than Dawn of the Dead.
It's also shorter than Dawn of the Dead. It's not... Sometimes Dawn can... I have to be in the right mood for Dawn.
Yes, for sure.
But it's Evil Dead 2. I mean, but that's, once again, this just comes down to me loving Sam Raimi and loving the Evil Dead movies and loving Ash.
But Evil Dead 2 is in your top 10 of all time, right?
Easily, yeah.
Would you say it's your top 5 of all time?
Yes. It might be. And Raimi's got two of my favorite movies of all time, and Evil Dead 2 and Spider-Man 2. I need to refresh that bad boy, that list, though.
Top 10 list?
Yeah, the top 10 list. I used to do that all the time. I haven't done it in a while. There may be some new movies added on there.
I generally don't have an order to my list.
Yeah.
I don't usually the top 3 are generally are always the top 3. But then after that, it just kind of I don't really think about where they fall.
Yeah, I always like just start naming movies off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And then I try to order them, and then I get them down into a workable list of 10. And then, yeah, you're right. Like
They just kind of meld together.
they kind of meld together, but I will pick out, the top one or two.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones I'll highlight as my favorite.
What are your top 3 right now, like movies, off the top of your head? If you had to, I'm not holding this to you, like holding you to this, just like if you could name your favorite 3 movies all time.
Off the top of my head,
Yeah.
and I'm going to limit this to one Sam Raimi movie.
Okay, you don't have to. There's no rules here.
I think I'm going to, though.
Sure.
So I am going to say, off the top of my head, Evil Dead 2. This one popped in my head, and you'll think I'm crazy. Well, first I'll just say Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. And then Jackie Brown. Wow. My favorite Tarantino movie. And Tarantino
That's
has
a cool list.
Yeah, has become one of my favorite. Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite directors as well. So
That's a cool list.
yeah. Well, what's yours? What's your top 3?
Blade Runner, Halloween, Aliens.
Yeah, see, yours is
Yeah,
Yours is
I
good
think
stuff.
that's my top 3.
I was trying to.
The Thing and Aliens always kind of do this thing where they flip-flop.
Yeah,
That's up there too.
Halloween was on the tip of my tongue. I went with Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Because I do absolutely adore that movie. So yeah,
Man,
but Halloween is the Carpenter one because I wanted to have a Carpenter one on there, and I was like, is it Prince of Darkness?
That's
or The Thing?
That's
But
not in my top 10. Prince of Darkness isn't, but
Prince-
it's not far out.
Prince of Darkness is like moving up for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, God, let me see if can I rattle off my top 10 really quick just before we
Yeah,
go.
go for
Yeah, so Blade Runner, Aliens, Halloween, The Thing, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Those are both my top 10. So I got 2 Carpenters and 2 Romeros, which I feel very happy about. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Heat. See, I get stuck. Lost Boys and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Very nice.
There you go. That's my top 10.
Very nice.
But then, not far after, it's like Prince of Darkness, Ghostbusters is in my top 20.
Because now I'm thinking
Karate
about,
Kid.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about like Rocky.
Yep. Rocky 4.
Which Indiana Jones movie I want to pick and pull out of there? Probably
Okay,
Temple.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Spider-Man
is up there.
2 was the one. That's my second Raimi movie.
Yeah. Jurassic Park's up there for me.
Okay.
The first.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I've got my top 10.
I know that's always been one of your favorites. Friday the 13th Part 4 is in my top probably 30 or 40 movies.
See, I'm a Part 6 guy. I don't know if I have any Friday. Like Friday the 13th is this weird.
It's
thing.
not a top 10.
Yeah, it's not top 10, but like
It's my favorite franchise, though.
it's my favorite. But that's because it's just so. It's like a fist. It's
Collectively, it's
it's only strong when you make a fist.
it's like getting fisted.
Get fisted.
Get fisted with Friday the 13th. Anyway, all right.
Cool.
Excellent.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that we want to say. I don't think so. Willie, you want to wing it next time, or do you want to like go old school, do a movie? Do you want to do the third movie bracket? What do you want to do
Man,
next time?
I don't know, Tim. It's
Have you been itching to do any movies lately? Like, we've been doing this, and you're like oh,
it's been a little while since we've done a movie, but it's like, is there something that I'm gravitating towards? I don't know. The answer, yeah, no, I don't think there is necessarily. Okay. Yeah, should we just do Prince of Darkness? Have we done Prince of Darkness before? We've definitely done Prince of Darkness before. Wasn't it on a triple though? It was on a triple episode.
I'm gonna have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure you're right. So let's plan on that.
I'd like to talk some Carpenter. It's been a little while. Yeah. I know we talked about Prince of Darkness, and I know we talked about most of his movies that we were fans of.
I'm gonna have to go back through honestly go on the website and look, but we'll plan on Prince of Darkness.
I'd love to just talk more Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, but if we decide not to, if we're like we did a whole movie, we did do.
Don't
a
get
whole
mad at
episode,
us.
Don't get. We'll probably end up doing it again. But also if you spend like $3.99 to rent it, don't get mad at us.
That's true.
Yeah, we will not be reimbursing you $3.99.
No.
So you are doing this at your own risk.
Go back and listen to whatever we talked about before.
Yes.
Yeah, but man, I love Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, let's go.
You got me thinking about it.
let's do an old school episode. We'll do a class of whatever year it came out. We'll do some.
I feel like
we'll
we've
have some
talked
fun.
about this before. We've never done a full episode on Prince Darkness. though.
No, we're gonna do the old school format. We're gonna talk about what came out. We're gonna talk about the
Excellent.
news at the time. We're gonna kick it old school next time.
87, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Excellent.
All
Talk
right.
about some Alice Cooper.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Sick.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening. Take care.